Well, good Thursday morning, Patriots. This is Wendy from NEWSFORCE, and I'm back with a special report. We've got stuff happening on the orange screen, and I am not surprised with the reports that are coming in the news of the areas that are being picked. Let's get right into it, guys. We have a lot of places to get to. All right, we are going to be taking a look at Canada, Washington, Mexico, of course. I'm sure that doesn't shock you guys. That's where the war's going on. We've got Florida happening down there by that Okeechobee Lake again. And California. We actually have one that's a surprise up there in Canada. That one seems to have just popped up out of nowhere, and I find it interesting where it's at, considering the storms that have been going through and the tornadoes that have been going through. This really does come into play because we know the deep state controls the weather, okay? And they have control over the bad weather. They're the ones that have been spawning all these tornadoes. They just love tornado and hurricane season because then they don't have to have an excuse for what they're doing. They don't have to explain it away because everybody can just say, oh, well, it was hurricane season. Oh, well, it was tornado season. Okay, those seasons are going away real quick because as soon as we get the weather control heart pulled out from underneath these deep staters, it's over. We're going to a happy 76 degrees with maybe a light breeze, sun's out, and a little bit of rain here and there, the way the earth was supposed to be. All right, let's get over to our map so we can take a look at all of these spots that the military is picking and coming down hard on, I might add. And of course, let's not forget Oregon. Oregon's got some action. They've been pretty quiet. Not in the DUMBS. They haven't been quiet, but in the orange screens, they've been real quiet. And we've got some drip drops we're going to take a look at. All right, now let's head over to our map. Okay, guys, here we are over at our orange screen map, and it is changing by the second. Every time I click into it, there's something more new, or they've added in some droplets. If you don't know what I call droplets, okay, let's talk about that for a minute. Let's go in close on one. You can see how these almost look like droplets, and inside of each one is screens. These screens that I'm showing you are screens that go up to protect the military from direct energy weapons coming through, and it's a screen that sits in the ionosphere. And it is made up of nanotechnology. They can move it around any which way they want it. They can change it on the drop of a dime. They can make it as big as they want it, as small as they want it. And this protects from direct energy weapons while our military is on the ground or down in the dumps or even in the air trying to get some things done. Okay, so I call it a droplet because they all look kind of like droplets, okay? So that's what I'm referring to when we're talking about droplets. Let's head right over to Florida. I'm very excited to talk about Florida. Florida, I don't know what's going on with you, but you've way surpassed Texas in the freedom realm because you guys are liberating the crap out of yourselves right now. We've got Florida doing two things in the last 48 hours. Florida has decided to put the hammer down. They are sick of the chemtrails. They've had enough of the crap and food and in the air. They are putting their foot down, and they are flat out saying no more weather modification. And if you want to go ahead and go into this article, I put it up about 2 hours ago. It goes into detail of what they can and can't do and the astronomical amount of money that they are going to get charged if they try and so much as put a pea size of their chemicals in the sky to pollute us. We are winning. This is a war, and we just took a major chunk of theirs. They will not be allowed to do this in Florida, and you will see the rest of the United States go all the way across the board too. When one does it, they all do it. I passed a law once up in New York State regarding sexual assaults of any kind, guys. Mostly I was geared towards children for about 20 years. That's all I did was victim services, and I passed a law out there in New York State. Let me tell you something about laws. There are two places, okay, that you'll want to start if you want to nail the rest of the United States. And that's start with New York, then go to 2 more and get them passed, and usually it will go nationwide. You'll want to pick your New York, your Florida, or your Iowa. Montana is a good one to start at too. The reason why is once you put it in stone in New York, that's why I picked New York. Okay, once you put that in stone, ain't nothing going to budget, change it, nothing. The rest of the nation's going to look at it like gold, and they are going to follow suit. Good for you, Florida. Let's talk about something else that happened in Florida. We're over at The Guardian, and The Guardian and several others have put it out. Take a look at this, guys. Now, Florida is already to become, they're getting ready to be completely fluoride free. All right. That's incredible. We all need to do that. But you guys, we can't go quick, because as soon as they take the fluoride out of the water, the calcification around the pineal glands and around the guts, okay, and all over in your body is going to start to dissipate, which is going to cause a huge ascension in people. They'll be able to see again. They'll be able to feel again. Their intuition will come back. Their sensitivity to light, to the person next to them. This is where lying comes in. This is where the deep state dumped us down to where we can't tell if somebody else is lying. That's the way they wanted it. Oh, is that going to change with the fluoride going away in the water? No more calcification for them. We will become the way we used to be. When you speak to somebody, you won't have to guess if they're telling you the truth, because our intuition will be that strong. They've dumbed our intuition down to about 2% of what we're capable of, guys. And it all starts right here with getting rid of the fluoride. So, these people who are sheeple and you see look like robots, you are going to see come alive. Okay. If you've ever seen that movie, I think it is The Awakenings, where they go in and they remove all of the deep state petroleum drugs from them. And within 12 hours, they're all dancing around and excited, and old people all over the place getting jiggy like they're 20 years old, remembering things, noticing things about each other, being alive and being human. And that's coming for us, guys. And it all starts right here. You watch this. This is going to go nationwide. Let's head back over to the map. Take a look at what's going on with the orange screen in Florida. All right, guys, a lot of action on this screen, isn't there? Good Lord. Let's head over to Florida again here. And we're going to be taking a look at all of those droplet orange screens up, okay? I call these droplets, all right? These are much bigger droplets. Normally, I just call these smaller ones like this droplets, but they're still droplets. They're individualized. What it tells me is they're picking that specific area because they are after somebody. That's a big dog. That's a little dog. If you guys go over to human trafficking, you can almost follow exactly what they're doing, because whoever they pick up shows up over in human trafficking. Like this week, we picked up 600 people involved in a child trafficking. Okay. And that was all over in Alabama and Tennessee and those areas. And what was going on in Tennessee and Alabama all week long? Tornadoes, galore. Bad weather, galore. Straight line winds, galore. They will fight us to the end with whatever they have. And they are using HARP right now, weather modification, to attack us when we come in to attack them. They are not winning, though. We are winning. So let's take a look. Let's come on down here. I talk a lot about Okeechobee Lake because that's a man-made lake, okay, guys? And that lake was not made to supply water to Florida, okay? It's about 12 feet deep all the way across it. It's a man-made lake, and a lot of nefarious things went on underneath this lake and around this lake, okay? You can consider this the Epstein Island of Florida, besides, of course, Walt Disney World, Cape Canaveral, but all of these places all connected together through tunnels, guys. There was tunnels, there was subway tunnels, it all connected. But usually water's important because they can hide a lot of things. They can hide also submarines. Yes, sirree, Bob, there are submarine tunnels all over the world that can be traveled underneath the oceans, okay? Underneath our floors like that. Okay, so let's just take a look. This Cape Coral really interested me because it stretches out right out into the Gulf of America. Look at the size of that and how its snapping point comes right in on this other screen right here, and it snaps right there. So I'm going to say there is something big going on just to the south and to the east of Okeechobee, right here in this area, which would be, let me just get in closer so I can read, Manchura area, okay? Manchura area. And you can see there are canals and stuff that run all over Hillsborough Canal. Lots of action there. I'm not surprised, you guys. I don't think they're going to get out of there in that Okeechobee for quite some time. All right, let's come on out here to Nassau in the Bahamas, Freeport. You can see those are still active. They jump around and they're moving on Freeport. But they're going to town on something because these orange screens are popping up every day, sometimes 2 and 3 layered on top of each other. Cuba, you have yourself some action, some droplets going on. And let's see, Camagüey, I think I'm going to pronounce it that way. Okay. And we also have a couple of small ones right here in the center here in Cuba. All right, guys. So we have some action. Well, you know, Cuba was really bad. Let's just take a look down here, Port-au-Prince, and San Domingo, and just take a look. I don't see anything down there. Okay, so let's go to the north. You can see up here in the north, right on the line. Now, I heard last night that in Valdosta, they had some bad weather pop up out of nowhere. So when I say bad weather, I relate it to the white hats using bad weather. And what do I mean by that? When I say bad weather, I'm talking weather that's not killing people. We're talking about thunderstorms that might bring some rain to keep everybody in. The deep state is not the only ones that have control over HARP. We also use HARP to our advantage for the military. You know, maybe snowstorms going to take 2 days to, you know, flush out some bad guys in your area. And so they'll go ahead and pop a light snowstorm off to keep everybody inside. The idea behind keeping everybody inside or sidetracked is for your safety so they can get in and do their work and get these bad guys and get out. There's so many dynamics behind these droplets. I'm more interested in the droplets than the large orange screens. So let's go ahead and leave Valdosta, and we're going to just take a look. No, see, that one shifted just since we got on, guys. It shifted. This stinker was like this. And if you checked last night with the weather, we had some really bad weather right in through here. And I wish I could show you, but the orange screens go up and come down. This orange screen right here was all in this area last night. So that tells you that we were up to something of catching bad guys. But let me just say, all those tornadoes that spawned was the hissy fit of the deep state. That's what they do. When we take theirs, they take ours. And they use tornadoes and they use very violent weather. Pretty much all went well last night with the weather. We did have one person die. I believe it was in the area of Ohio and just across the border there into. All right, guys. So we have our first orange screen up there. I'm just going to go ahead and draw a line. I'm going to have to come out a little more so I can see. All right, so here's the line for Washington. Here's the line for Oregon. Here's our first screen. Let's go in on it. It's a 2-screener, guys. It's just to the east of Griffin-Pichon National Forest. There's your national forest, guys. Boom, boom. Here's your reserve. Here's another national forest. They make sure they cover their bases when they're protecting stuff. So we see the military is out here in the mountains right now, and it's a 2-screener. So they're definitely after something or someone. Let's go ahead and go south. So here's the border right here of Washington. And we're coming across the border into Oregon. So here's the outline for Oregon. Okay, let's come on in. So here's another double screen just outside of Portland, to the east of Portland. Here's Mount Hood National Forest, guys. So there you go. Here's a reservation. Okay. And this is a double screen, guys. And if you notice, it mirrors itself. It almost looks the same exact way here as it does on the outside. Okay. So they have something very specific going on there. Catching bad guys. Let's go to the south. Take a look here. All right, just next to Bend. You guys know about Bend. Okay, we blew up a lot of stuff around Bend, Oregon. Okay, about 6 months ago. Bend has been very active. So as you can see, it's got another 2 screens over it. Here's 1 screen and 2 screens. So Bend is real active right now. We'll see what comes out of it. All right, let's get to our larger ones. Just outside of Medford. Okay. Just outside of Medford. And let's pull that out so you guys can see. It's Oregon again, okay, for this third one. And as you can see, we have 1, 2 screens. And then we have right over here 1 and 2 small screens right there. Okay, so they are very specific. They're after something there. And they ain't quit until they get it. Let's come across the border into California. Here's your lines for California. All right. And it's just to the north of Sacramento, almost straight north across the border, just barely across the border into Oregon. And then across the border again into California, we have a 2 screener here. So they're being very specific at what they're looking for, guys. Very specific. Let's go north here. Look at Canada. Totally empty from orange screens. But then right across the border of North Dakota, here's North Dakota. Minnesota, guys. Minnesota. And here is our orange screen bumped up right next to Lake Manitoba. Or Manitoba, guys. It stretches out, starts in Dauphin, and Brandon and Winnipeg. It's right in between all of those, bumped right up to the lake. And that is a 2 screener. Let's go in closer so you can see. And I find it interesting that they have it right near the lake. I've told you the different activities that go on underneath these lakes. So I wouldn't be surprised if they're after something good. Let's go in a little closer, make sure there's not any extra screens. Yeah, that shoots right along the coastline right there in Canada, near Winnipeg. All right, let's come back out and let's hit Mexico. That is where our war is right now. And as you can see, I've been calling it a birthing canal because it kind of looks like an hourglass shape. You can see that our orange screens are there, and we have 1 screen, 2 screen, and then a 3rd screen up top, okay? And so here's our area where all the fighting in Mexico's been going on, from Mexico City all the way to Guatemala. This has been our main focus zone, but it seems like it's been moving more north, you guys, because we are getting a lot more action with concentrated droplet screens. Look at all of them, you guys. They're all over the place. This area specifically, Nueve Casa Grandes, okay? We know we hear those names all the time for trafficking and running these kids through these deserts. Okay, take a look at this screen. You guys, it's going to take us a minute here. All right, let's look and see how many there are. All right. We're going to come in close. Okay, let me give this a try. So this is 1 screen right here. All right, so we're going to go 1. Okay, and then there's a 2nd screen here underneath that one. And we are going to pull out to a 3rd screen right there. So that would make this 1 and 2. Okay, and then we've got a 4th one layered right over that, and then we have our final 5th one right there. So I guess it's not as many as I thought. It's hard to see once you get in close, but you guys, that's major, okay? Especially right there on the border of Juarez, okay? I mean, we know what was going on, and we know Trump's new law to protect us in this section of the border. Oh, I'm sorry. Went up. It actually is, I believe, a section that goes like this, is legally protected now by the military, and you better not blink out there, because we got it, and we will go ahead and put you through a tribunal, and we will hang you before you can take another breath if you mess with our border. Okay, Chinchilla. Not sure how to pronounce that. Where's my Mexican friends? Chichua. It sounds like you're sneezing. Look at all these screens. My goodness, you guys. I mean, clearly they're not messing around, and clearly the military knows what they're going for, because what a mess of good war to peace to see these orange screens up, guys. All right, we're just going to go in close. It's just so hard once it gets in this tight. Take a look at this one over the top of all of them. I would say there's 1, 2. Let's pull out. So it'd be 1 underneath here, 2 here, 3 here, 4 here. And this would only be 1 and 2. Okay, guys? And same with these up here. We just did this one. Let's come on down. All right. We are headed to Solucian Rosales, if I pronounced that right. You guys can laugh at me. I laugh at my own self trying to pronounce Mexican names. Here I can do Kazakhstan and I can do all these big, huge names, but for some reason, when it comes to Mexican names, I struggle. Okay, let's take a look at this screen here. All right, so it's just to the north right here. They have another orange screen just to the north of Chilcan Rosales. And I know I'm pronouncing that wrong. Take a look at this mess, all right? Just to the east of Durango. I'm sorry, just to the west. Okay, let's get that right, Wendy. Slap, slap. Okay, take a look at this. Mazarian. It's to the north of Mazarian, if you're familiar with what that is. All right, we're going to try and count this out here. Let's just look and see so we can get an idea. Okay, so here's Mexico City. This is where the main fighting is going on, from here to Guatemala. To Guatemala down there. And all right. Let's get a look. I'm going to try and do my best with this. 1, 2, 3, 4. There's 1 right here underneath. 5 and 6 screens. Oh boy. Oh, war to peace, war to peace. I love it. The more screens, the better. That tells me they're able to be really precise. Come on down to Guadalajara. And you can see there's multiple. And here's your snap point, guys. Snap points are important, where these things take off from, where they put these orange screens. All right, quite a few of them in there. Good Lord. All right. 1, 2, 3. And then 4. And this would be 4. And there would be a 5th one right here, okay? It's just the way it layers like that. Zeparan, Guadalajara. All right, they're going to town on you guys, and you can see these orange screens are extending all the way down along the coastline of Mexico, down through, and you can see how this one cuts off and comes around here, this main screen in Acapulco, going up all the way around and hooking around that coastline. Like I said, remember, guys, there is much action that's going on land is also taking place out in the oceans. And I just wanted to say, too, my sincerest apologies for my keyboard still. I'm still trying to replace my equipment, so I hope you guys will bear with me as I get my new equipment. And it's been a nightmare, guys, but that's okay. It'll iron out, and we'll have a new phone, and we'll stop seeing numbers all over Mexico. Okay, let's pull back out here and just go to the south a little bit. Taking a look of Nicaragua, look at the size of that orange screen, and you could see this large one comes into play. So there would be 1, 2, and 3. Nicaragua, we've been hearing that come back into the news. Oh, you guys, the trafficking. Oh, the things they did to the kids down there. You know, just really, really bad stuff. So if you wanted to take a closer look at these guys, go ahead and pop over to Air Now and download that app, and you can get right in and start taking a look at these orange screens. All right, guys, we're going to change directions here. Let's talk about the fires burning in Israel. I find something very interesting about these fires. Today is supposed to be their Independence Day, guys, and these fires are raging over there. Let's get a report, and then we're going to go over to the DUMBS screen, and we're going to take a look. There's some new DUMBS. It has not been active in that area, but all of a sudden, we've got a couple of popping up in that area just about the time these fires started a couple days ago. Let's go ahead and get that report from France 24 here.
Well, we're going to cross then to Jerusalem, talk to our correspondent Noga Ternopolsky, who joins us from there. Noga, how bad then, first of all, are these fires?
They're extremely bad. They're some of the worst fires, if not the worst fire in the nation's history. We still don't have a full sense of it because it's still raging and it could still expand. I don't know how much you can see that the skies above Jerusalem that are normally blue and very, very clear, especially now in springtime, are just filled with dust, and the smell in the air is as if I were sitting next to a fireplace. It's been this way since yesterday with very, very powerful winds, and at the end of a winter that was a drought. And so the circumstances are particularly harsh. The other thing is, today is Independence Day in Israel, normally celebrated with barbecues, with people having little, marshmallows on the fire. The entire country has been shut down. Trains between Tel Aviv and Jerusalem aren't working. There's no public transportation. The roads are very iffy. Most have been closed. There have been tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of people evacuated, and the fires are not yet under control.
How are the authorities trying to respond to this then, Noga?
Well, they're doing a pretty hapless job of it. I want to tell you, there's a lot of criticism, heavy criticism against the government for having been unprepared, especially after the Israeli fire chief said that this was an entirely predictable result of climate change that was known about. The other thing is that Israel suffered
get to that
10 years ago from a terrible fire up north.
Okay, you notice how she brought up climate change, okay? And now I'm going to show you what really happened, okay? She's calling it climate change, and then just within a couple hours, they busted 18 people that supposedly put this together and started these fires. Now, I want you guys to take this whole situation in Israel, and I want you to put it out in California. Do you remember the order of the fires out in California? This one is looking like classic case, deep state started it, okay, type of deal. Is there a possibility that the white hats are taking advantage of it and catching bad guys and maybe getting some of these tunnels and stuff cleaned out? Yes, that's very possible, especially when you see a very low rate of deaths, which, as I'm understanding it, there's been one reported, and a very low rate of it destroying areas that make no sense with the DUMBS, the fires, and the white hat military. Okay, we will find out what's going on out there in the next 24 to 48 hours. Like I said, you head over to the child trafficking and human trafficking on Telegram, guys. That's where you're going to find 1 and 2 days later the story explained of these droplets in the military catching bad guys and taking people down to Guantanamo Bay. Now, here in Israel, it seems very classic case. to the deep state, and I think there's some white hat activity involved. I would plant this as identical to what happened out in California, what happened out in Lahaina, out in Hawaii. If you notice, they all start the same way, they all end the same way. She is speaking about the fire chief, and about the chief of police, and how they're stepping forward and saying that everything is just fine, and that it's from climate change. Okay, but let's change directions here real quick. You heard her say it. You can clearly see their deep state. You could clearly see that this is definitely deep state news station reporting this, because here is some truth. Okay, so they arrested 18, but they think it's only 3. I don't know how that works, but okay. As of 4:30 this morning, they've picked up some people that they believe started the fires. Now, remember, we thought out in California, they were trying to paint us, out in LA. They're trying to tell us that all these bums were running around starting these fires, when we know they were direct energy weapons, okay, that started the fires. Okay, I do believe they're trying to pull that same thing here, trying to claim it was just a bunch of people that got paid off to run around and start fires. Some guy on a bike, okay, does not run around and set all of LA and Israel on fire, okay? Especially with that 3 there, guys. Okay, that 3's an indicator that we know now these fires were definitely started by the deep state. It definitely is not what that reporter out of Israel is reporting, that it's climate change. Every time I hear those words, I just want to laugh, right? Don't you? What a joke. Climate change. Anyway, so there we go. That's where we're at with that. So now let's head over to our DUMBS map, because I want to show you what's popped up in the last 48 hours over in Israel, where it's been so quiet. All right, here we are over at our DUMBS map. Look at the United States, very active. And look at our little birthing area, I call it. Here is the area in between Mexico City, where most of the fighting is going on. And take a look at those DUMBS. Really a lot of action still right along there into the Gulf of America. All right, let's get over to Israel. Let's head right over to Israel. All right, you guys, you can see here in Greece, look at all that action. I can't even read the Greece. You can barely see it. They are still going to town on Greece. Hang in there, Greece. I know it's crazy every day, but y'all had a lot of DUMBs, and very dangerous DUMBs. Some really bad things went on in those DUMBs. All right, let's get on down here. All right, guys. So as you can see, Saudi Arabia is completely cleaned out except for a few DUMBs, okay? And of course we have over here, let me pull it out so you guys can see. All right. We have over here, Africa's pretty much clean except for 10 KMers. I can pretty much click on these and find that they're all going to be 10 KMers. All right, and on into Israel. Take a look. It's really quiet there, and it's been really quiet except for into Turkey. Turkey has actually calmed down quite a bit, if you can believe it. Okay, and in Israel, right along this line right here, guys, if we go close, look at what happened in the last 24 hours to 72 hours. This was 5 days ago, guys. This was a 5 km, and this was a 2.3 blast out of nowhere. Okay, and then let's come on down. You can barely see them. Here's another one right along that line. And that one was at a 16 km, and that was a 2.8 blast. Okay, and then we're going to come on down here into the Gulf of Aqaba. And we have another one right here, you guys. All right, I found that interesting considering the fires. All right, and take a look at that. That's a 2.0 km. And that was a blast of 2.4. So they're all pretty much the same within the same 24, 48 hours. And then the fires broke out. So, you know, nothing's ever a coincidence. When we do something to them, they want to strike back twice as hard. And I I do believe that when the deep state does bad things like start these fires in Israel and stuff like that, I do believe we use them to our advantage too, and we get some work done too, kind of like we did out there in LA. We got the main tunnel system. You could probably go ahead and check it off of the 34s that have to come down, that are deep state structures that need to come down, and you could check on there and see that we went ahead and hit Getty and all of the tunnels that run through to all the mansions, and stuff like that. We did a good job of hitting on them with those fires. A lot of times they'll start the fires just to keep people out while they get their work done, guys. It just depends. Usually 2 and 3 days later, we can figure out what's going on. So for you, Israel, we know you're going through a lot right now, and those fires should begin to come under control later on, maybe this afternoon. I think the fires in El Lahaina, I think they burned for 3 or 4 days. Same thing with the ones in LA. And I do believe we are on day 3 with these there in the Israel area. Okay, guys. So we'll be keeping a close eye on those fires, most definitely. All right, guys, let's just pop on over to South America. I wanted to show you guys a pretty good slammer jammer that went off. Ooh, wow. It was buried pretty deep, so that's good, but it's right in the middle of all the action. And Colombia, you can see, guys, they're working really hard on. This is Colombia right here. Here's our beautiful Panama Canal. We're going to be taking a look at this dome that just went off near the Panama Canal. I see the actions picking up again in the Panama Canal. All right, we're going for this one right here. And look at all the shaking, the reports of shaking from it. It was off the coast of Rio Verde, okay, just to the west. And let's take a look. Okay, they're considering it Ecuador. And this was a 35 cam. Look at that, guys. A 6.3 slammer jammer. Wham! Just nailed it to the wall, huh? Yeah, I'm not surprised people were feeling it. Let's just grab a quick report here and see what everybody's saying. Let's go the farthest into Quito. And let's just take a look at some of these that came off of that 6.3. All right, here we go. Severe shaking. Okay. They're reporting. Come on, we want to see someone say something. Here we go. In bed on the 10th floor of the Marriott and felt the bed moving from side to side for a minute. No other effects seen. So this was from, let's take a look because I don't think this is a dumb from that. That's a report from this dumb. Let's just click on the dumb and see, because it takes clicking on the dumb. All right, yes, all of these reports 6 days ago. There we go. Yes, they are all from that. Let's just grab one more. I like seeing what they're reporting. Let's go into Quinto. All right, in the bed of the 10th floor of the Marriott, felt the bed moving from side to side. I already read this one. Okay, let's grab one more on our way out the door here. Let's go over here into La Corellina. Corellina, okay, is how I believe you pronounce it. All right, and it looks like it's some sort of a racetrack or something there right next to it. I'm not surprised. A lot of these DUMBS and stuff like that, especially Super Bowls and stuff like that, they'll dig all new tunnels because the Super Bowl is not about football, guys. Super Bowl is about trafficking. Super Bowl is about how many kids can be molested after 3 o'clock in the morning and killed. The Super Bowl means something totally different to Satanists than it does to us. And that includes all events, Wimbledon, all the biggies. The Olympics, they love Olympic time because then they can go for long stretches at night after 3 o'clock. As I understand it, they can't kill and they can't do bad things until after 3 o'clock in the morning. And then they can go ahead and slaughter as many kids as they want. Okay, let's just zoom in and see where this is at. All right, this house right here off of Republica of El Salvador is the name of the street, guys. It looks like this is a school right here where that report was from. Okay, let's pull back out again.